Welcome back. And so we've done a whole bunch of plotting so far. And don't worry if you're sort of a little bit confused at the moment, like you're like, Daniel's showing me all these plots, I'm looking at different data sets. Whew, how am I going to remember all this? It's all right. That's perfectly fine to feel like that. It's going to take a little bit of practice to start to understand different kinds of plots, what you should use which plot for. But that's all part of the process, right? It's just having a little practice, having a go and just trying it out, seeing what it looks like. Does this make sense? So that's why in this video, we're going to do a similar plot to what we've just saw before on the car sales data set on another data set. Let's try on another data set. And if we come up here, we've got heartdisease.csv, which we've seen before, which is a data set which has different parameters of patients and whether or not they have heart disease. So let's import that as pd.readcsv, as we're going to call it just heart disease. And so we'll go heartdisease.csv. Beautiful. Now we'll have a look at it just to make sure we know what's happening. We'll only view the first 5 rows because there's about 300 in this one. Excellent. We have these parameters. We've seen them before. And we've got a target column right on the end. So what we might do is create a histogram just to see the distribution of the age column. So heart disease, age, .plot.hist. And we might just see the default number of bins. Can you remember how many that will be? Shift tab, bins is going to be 10. Beautiful, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay. So this is where we're starting to see that curve, right? This is that normal distribution. It's very common. So we're kind of getting that curve here. We would say that most of the patients are around, it's this line here, so maybe late 50s, early 60s, thereabouts. So what if we change the number of bins? So let's go bins equals 20. Okay, we're starting to lose that curve shape a little bit. 30. Still relatively there. We're definitely starting to see this more pronounced line here, right at the late 50s there. Maybe we jack it up to 50 and see what happens. All right. So that shape is still relatively there. Our initial shape, that what we got from just having 10 bins, is kind of consistent the whole way through. And maybe we'd look at this and go, okay, this one's a bit of an outlier. These are a bit of an outlier. Why are they outliers? Well, because they're so far from the middle. When you hear the word outlier, that's kind of what it's talking about. In statistic terms, it's about more than 3 standard deviations away from the mean. Now, of course, that definition will change depending on what data you're working with, but this is kind of a way that you can visualize it. So let's take that back to 10. That looks pretty good. All right. Now, these kind of visualizations are the things you'll do whenever you deal with a new data set. Let's finish. There's one more type of plot we haven't looked at directly from a data frame. And that's subplots. So we'll finish that off. We'll go heart disease dot head. Okay, this is our data frame. Now let's plot every single column's histogram in one plot. Let's see how we would do that. Heart disease. So we've got the age histogram here, but let's just make one for all of these and check the distribution. .plot.hist. So remember, this is just going straight from the entire data frame. Up here, we selected the age column. .hist. And maybe we want subplots equals true. Does that make sense? Because we want to put it all on the one plot. Keyword arg, so that's part of that. Maybe if we could read down a little bit. Examples. So this is one of those scenarios where if you wanted to use this .hist method and have it all on one plot, because the docstring doesn't really have an example of putting it all with the subplots, this would take a little bit of research. So you might look up a question like how to plot a histogram on subplots from a Pandas data frame, and then you'd find this little parameter here. Only reason I know it is because I've had a little bit of experience plotting subplots from Pandas data frames. So let's see what this looks like. Might take a little while because we're plotting 10 columns or 15 columns thereabouts. Oh, that doesn't look very good, does it? We've got overlapping plots. We've got legends everywhere. We've got, these things aren't even to scale. So maybe to fix it up, we'll change the fig size. So what do we want? We want width, height. We want it to be a bit higher so it stretches it out because there's hardly any space here. Okay, that's looking a little bit better, but still you got columns like this which are just all clumped up here because what it's doing is it's using the same scale for all of them. But in reality, these all have different measures. That's not very ideal, right? It might work out for some, like this one, cholesterol, might work out for that column, but it doesn't work at all for the other ones, right? So slope, old peak, exang. So what can we do? Well, this code runs, but it's not ideal. And then there's different scales, and it's probably a bit too much going on for this plot to even be meaningful. But this is a good segue though. Now we've covered a few simple plots directly on a Pandas data frame. Let's have a look at how we'd make some visualizations using the OO method. So remember back in a previous video, we talked about OO method, which is subplots. Don't worry if it's confusing, we'll have a look in a second. But what we've been using so far is plotting directly from Pandas using the stateless method. So in the meantime, have a practice, keep using the plot, make another plot of your own before we come into the next video. And I'll see you there. We'll practice using the more flexible object-oriented Matplotlib API directly with Pandas.